Well, south of the video store is a show called Off Our Stones. We got Andrew and me and a friend Cody. We're gonna rank some funky songs. Songs gonna rank songs. The longest list in the whole damn town. Longer than old King Kong. Me and the bed, the junkyard dog. Man, that was the first time I tried to look at you guys, and you guys just happened to be in perfect harmony. And you got me. You got me good.
Yeah, you laughing threw me off. I was like,
Okay, well, welcome back to Off Our Stones, guys. The list where we make our own top 500 list because we say, screw you, Rolling Stone magazine. Hey, Rolling Stone magazine, we didn't mean that.
they're trash. They are garbage, and I can say that because I'm not contracted.
They are. Yeah, they definitely have a. We're the Rolling Stones.
If you put two cymbal monkeys into a room, they could come up with a better list than those.
Each one with their own separate one symbol. Just
if your song has a 12-string guitar, you are at least in consideration.
No.
But I do want to say one thing going into this. I feel like in this section we've kind of like made a turn or like increased the ramp a little bit in terms of like the quality of the songs. I feel like the last little while has kind of been like, all right, these are good, but like maybe they're not necessarily like one person's taste or whatnot, or they were just kind of lower on the list. But like now, I feel like we're really kind of getting into the meat and potatoes of it.
For most of them. But yeah, so basically, if you haven't seen the show before, Brooklyn and I are each going to present a song that was on our list at the moment, but wasn't on the others. And then Cody's going to be the voice of the people and pick which song's going to be higher on the list if that song gets onto the list at all. Cody still has, I want to say you still have.
He has
eight. You still have 8 vetoes left. You can use them up until number 50. So with that being said, let's start off with the first 2 songs that are going to be on the list. Number 1, What a Wonderful World by Louis Armstrong versus Maggie May by Rod Stewart. I'm going to go first with this one because I have a sneaking suspicion I already know how this is going to go. What a Wonderful World. Louis Armstrong, boy, is this song just gorgeous to listen to. The strings are just perfectly placed. Louis Armstrong's voice usually would maybe not sound amazing, like when he's doing like this kind of slow, pretty thing, but not always. Even though he is a fantastic vocalist. It's just such a beautifully done song, and his voice is just perfectly carrying this beautiful melody of just like very sincere, heartwarming lyrics. It's just a beautiful song. Brooklyn?
Yeah, so Maggie May, Rod Stewart, I think has a couple of really good elements to get it on this list. You have that intro, which is very kind of like Victorian era, kind of sounds almost like a lute. That was surprisingly done a lot in this. Nancy, the guitarist from Heart also does this kind of similarly. But then you have the guitar lick that comes in right after that, and then you have just the big 1-2, and that just brings you right into the tone and the atmosphere of the song. And like the opening line, "Wake up, Maggie, I think I got something to say to you." I think Rod Stewart's voice is just low enough, and I think it's good enough for everybody to kind of sing along with. I think it does a really good job with the writing and some of the verses. Like, all I needed was a friend to lend a guiding hand, I think is a really good verse to kind of get people kind of sing along with you. I always go to the line, I find myself a rock and roll band that needs a helping hand. I think that's just the one that people always go to. But some like really cool like mandolin work on this, and one of the few times where like just one voice can carry the whole song. Whereas with What a Wonderful World by Louis Armstrong, the production on this is incredible. I'm going to keep it short. his voice just hasn't held up. It's not for me, but I can respect the song and everything that it's doing. I think it's very beautiful. Just I think his voice just doesn't crack the top 500 anymore.
Okay, so Maggie, I am so conflicted about Maggie May, and here's the reason. The melodies are great, the instrumentation is great, the production is great. It is about a schoolboy running away with his teacher, though. And that does kind of put me in that kind of uncomfortable position because of the implications involved in that. Um, it once again, it's a great sounding song. Lyrically, I just kind of feel a little uncomfortable listening to this one. Whereas with I think Louis' voice on this particular song works incredibly well. Because he's singing in a softer register than he kind of normally does, where he's got a very powerful voice, but it's very restrained, and I think that it works to the song's benefit.
I don't think his voice is that powerful though, because I think the strain is what makes his voice so much like you hear it, like there's definitely something vibrating. So yeah, I think that fact was null and void, but I'm curious to where Cody has to lean on this.
You guys really suck, like, to be honest with you, because like this matchup's just not fair for me personally, because I love both of these songs. I mean, Rod Stewart arguably has like one of my top favorite songs of all time. It's not Maggie May, but it's a cover of another song. I absolutely love it. But Louis Armstrong, What a Wonderful World is such a unique song, but I absolutely love it. I can't not give it to Maggie May. I just love Rod Stewart so much. Like, I love his voice, and I think he's so honestly. When you think of like main artists and stuff, I don't think Rod Stewart gets talked about enough. Like to be in like mainstream. Like, I think he's so good.
Yeah, I kind of
Weird
saw this.
opening though. The Maggie May's always got the weirdest like opening that plays like 30 seconds of like lead in. It's like
It's very
ah,
it's almost like medieval times kind of.
Oh,
Yes!
absolutely, yeah.
It's just like they never cut it off like the one time where they were like leading into it, like they were just putting it together. So yeah, I had to go Maggie.
All right. I'm not going to be disappointed in that one. I kind of saw that one coming. So that's a point for Brooklyn. So Brooklyn has taken the lead again. Let's move on to the next one. Numbers 358 and 357. Sweet Child of Mine by Guns N' Roses versus Let It Be by the Beatles. This one's going to be juicy, I think. Brooklyn.
So yeah, in a time of self-reflection and kind of trying to figure out where I was in life and whatnot, I found this song to be very calming and very kind of therapeutic in a way. There's a nice sort of like resolve to it all. You have the opening lyrics, I think, that kind of just grab you right away. Find myself in times of trouble, Mother Mary comes to me. It's the only song that I've ever heard a priest reference in a homily for church. So I think that kind of speaks to something. I think it's a good representation of the Beatles. They all kind of get a chance to shine. George has some really nice guitar work over the soft voice that Paul has. Ringo, you still have his feel on the drums. You hear his kind of washing of the hi-hat, and it's just uniquely them. And yeah, just a very very calming song, I guess at times.
Where Sweet Child of Mine is it's not nearly as calming, but it is very romantic. I think that Axl's lyrics here are actually like very beautiful. Especially the line, her hair reminds me of a warm, safe place where I used to hide as a child. There's just like a level of comfort to that, which is just really sweet. But the other thing I love about this is just the I have found that I love rock songs that have enough space in the production where you can really admire everyone's instrumentation equally. Even though Slash is definitely taking the lead here, and like that guitar is just immediately recognizable, you can kind of really appreciate the craftsmanship of this song. Um, and you, even with the vocals, which you can tell how amazing the vocal melody is if you've ever watched Step Brothers and they do the harmonies in the car. Um, whereas with Let It Be, I'm not going to say that Let It Be is not a good song. I will say though that it kind of falls into the trap that some Beatles songs do, whereas you, leaning a little bit too much on the chorus over and over again towards the end of the song, where it gets to the point where you're like, okay, I get it. I know what the chorus sounds like. Let's move on. It's not like too long, but it's like just a little over overwhelming.
So in that instance, I believe this is where that's applied effectively because of the nature of the song. You need that phrase and that phrase alone to get over things in your life, and it's not going to be anything else that you're trying to reach for. It has to be within yourself, and you just have to acknowledge certain things that have happened and whatnot. As a Sweet Child of Mine, why the fuck do we hold on to this song? Why do we think that this is just like one of God's greatest gifts that we ever made? The signature is okay, but it relies on that too much, and by the time it wants to like try new things in the chorus, you've lost me. I feel like this is an empty Big Mac with some like okay buns in the middle, but the verses are just absolutely nothing. Like basically cookie cutter rock chords. You are not trying to do anything. It leans too much on Slash. Axl Rose sounds better on other songs. There is room for one Guns N' Roses song and not this one.
See, I don't think it leans too much on the guitar when they get to like the second part of the song with the Where Do We Go Now, it was relying a lot more on the bass than it is genuinely on the guitar to carry the rhythm. But let's move on to Cody.
But the guitar's the payoff though in that section.
Yeah, don't you know, Bar, that's the payoff. So one of these songs is in one of my favorite movies of all time. It's in maybe it's not. Yeah.
Brothers?
No, it's in Big Daddy. Sweet Child of Mine is in Big Daddy.
Is it?
Trying to remember. It's been a long time since I've seen that movie, to be
Maybe
honest.
I don't even flip it now.
I gotta know this now to the Googler.
Sweet Child. I believe it is. I think it is. It's not sang by them, but I think it's sang by Sheryl Crow. Is that correct? Is Sheryl Crow do a version of?
She does do a version of this song.
Thank you. Okay. Yeah. 2 points for Cody.
You're right. That is on the soundtrack of
Knew I'd get there somewhere.
Jukebox Trivia Champion 2023.
But Let It Be wins.
Yeah.
Okay. Let It Be is a better song overall. I like it more, and Axl Rose is a piece of shit. So I mean, that doesn't came into factor. I like some of it, but overall, like I'm gonna go with Let It Be, even though I think Beatles are a little overrated. Well, then that's not a shock. They are overrated. They're considered the greatest band of all time. That comes with an overrated status. No question about it.
Yeah, that absolutely kind of does.
Yeah.
It's like
you can't be called the greatest band ever and not be overrated in somebody's eyes. So
it's like Citizen Kane. Like there are people who hold that movie in high regard, and then other people who say it's a piece of garbage.
It's like somebody picking The Godfather in a YLS draft and not having it say oh, this appeases just Kirk, or this pandering to Kirk.
Well, when you get home and your parents make you a meal and you're like, you had a horrible day, but there's a great meal too, and you're like, oh, that's at the start of Let It Be. You're like, oh, why do I like this?
Okay.
It's like a hug.
That is not one that I can tell you that you're wrong, so I'm fine with this. All right.
Funny thing is, I'm never wrong.
On this show, So let's move on to number 356 and 355 on our list. Blown in the Wind by Bob Dylan versus Crab Bucket by KOS.
Chaos. Sorry.
I'm just saying, you all should just be effing ashamed of yourself. Your first 4 songs, and then this is what. I'm just saying, this is the next. You do your own show, but what the fuck? What are we doing?
All right, Blown in the Wind by Bob Dylan. This is just one where the lyrics get to be the star. And it's a very earnest song, carried by very earnest performance by Bob Dylan, where his voice is exactly in the voice range that it should be without sounding like every Bob Dylan impersonation ever made about Bob Dylan. It's just like really well written, an incredibly solid piece, very emotional, and it has held up. It has aged very, very well.
So Crab Bucket by Chaos. Chaos is a Canadian rapper, and this came out in the mid 2000s. And I believe this fits the slot perfectly of like jazz rap or like kind of like a swing rap. This is the closest that I've kind of ever heard a song get to that style. The bass in this is fucking popping. The piano in this is great, and just how it kind of accents everything. And then his voice, in particular, in the bookends of this. The intro is great. Took a trip on a bus that I didn't know, met a girl selling drinks at a disco, and just how he kind of flows with those lines is great. And then you have the chorus, and it's just like you want to dance in the kitchen to this, like no time to get down because I'm moving up, and it just has this great energy to it. And then you get to the end verse. And I think this is one of the best verses in rap, and just how he's able to kind of like roll over the beat. Like he'll stay on like the 1 and the 3, or on the 2 and the 4 rather, and then to kind of switch and then go on and do something kind of different. It's a very catchy song, very simple chorus. Whereas with Blown in the Wind, I think this is a good song in terms of the message of like, whatever you are trying to look for or whatever you're trying to discover is out there. You just kind of have to go get it. I think the style is just done a little bit better by Neil Young. I think there is a cooler cousin to the version called Harvest Moon, where the guitar just sounds just like a little bit crisper. This is a pretty simple song for Dylan, and I think with that it needs the flawless execution. And I just think when I hear this, I want to go listen to Neil Young because he does this style better.
That was going to be nice. I like Neil Young, but first of all, Neil Young cannot touch this song. This that comparison I don't think is very fair. Plus, my song the sound is timeless. Yours definitely sounds of its time. I think that it is a little bit too loose for its own good. Okay, you said he's a rapper. I'm sure the rest of his discography is very good, but the rap in this song is stilted. It is something that I could have heard multiple rappers do from like the early to mid 90s, the exact same kind of flow. To the point where the kind of flow that I'm hearing on this one is the kind of flow that I'm hearing from people who are trying to imitate rappers instead of being rappers. So I think that it's just way too much of its time, whereas mine's just timeless.
So I think the thing that helps that last verse, especially, whenever I go back and hear it, it reminds me of somebody actually kind of like doing tap dance to the beat. Just the way that he kind of maneuvers in with the beat, kind of has
like a Nicholas Brothers routine.
I don't know who that is. That's
I'm gonna have to introduce you to the Nicholas Brothers when we're done.
Okay. But yeah, I don't have anything else to say about your song. I enjoy your song. I just think mine is much better.
let's move on to Cody then.
So Bob Dylan, I mean, guess what? Am I respected in the music and the community? No. So I don't really give a fuck what people think. Bob Dylan kind of sucks. I'm gonna be honest with you. Like he sounds like he's half asleep in most songs. Like I don't know if that's the drugs or what he had. I don't know him personally, but it always seems like he's half asleep. But I will say this Bob Dylan song I liked a lot more than your song, Brooklyn. No offense.
Dang. Okay.
The beat was kind of nice, but it felt repetitive after a while for me overall.
Okay.
And honestly, I've heard Bob Dylan's song prior. I just didn't know it until I started listening to it. I'm like, oh, I hear this. So.
Okay, so that means Crab Bucket is there, and Blowing in the Wind is at 3.
Also, hate the name. Hate the name.
Bob Dylan? It's kind of boring, but whatever.
God, I hate you even more.
That's what my parents said to me when they moved out. All right, so moving on to number 354 and 353. Don't Speak by No Doubt versus Bust a Move by Young MC. This is going to be wild. Brooklyn, you're starting us off with this one, baby.
You can feel every muscle in his mouth and lips when he gets out that initial bustus. There's just so much pop in behind that. I think every little gear of this is just working so well. The guitar riff in this is very clean and effective. Flea's bass line in this is super freaking catchy. It's one of the ones that initial bass players will go to try to learn that line. It's very simple, but it's effective at the same time. And then again, opening lyrics. This here's a chance for all the fellas trying to do what those ladies tell us. Just how he sits in the groove of this beat, and then it gives you a chance in the chorus to kind of like reset and refresh. And the vocalist in there has a much higher register, and I think it balances out everything that's happening in the verses and whatnot, because the verses can be pretty like rich and heavy.
Don't Speak by No Doubt is an incredibly emotional piece. It's one of the best breakup songs of all time. You can hear like the hurt and the pain in Gwen Stefani's voice as she's singing this, and it's a very universal kind of sentiment where you're like, I swear if you say anything, like I'm gonna cry or you're gonna cry or we're both gonna cry. But it's something that it is a relationship that has been falling apart for a long time, and it's come to the point where you got to cut the cord. As I said, Gwen Stefani sounds amazing on this. The instrumentation and the production are just so perfectly balanced. It just really, really carries a hefty emotional punch. With Bust a Move, I will give you that bass line is sick. But my biggest problem with this song is Young MC's lyrics. Sometimes that they're really creative and cool, but then there are other points in the song where it's kind of lame.
Are there what in particular?
Like don't hang yourself with a celibate rope. I'm kind of just like, really? Did you need to add the word celibate there? It kind of just like it comes across a little forced, is all I'm trying to say. Just like some of the rhyme schemes that he tries to force in there. The flow is really cool. I like that. It's just there are some parts of the song, not as a whole. There are some parts of the song though that are just a little bit forced and does take away from the overall quality of it.
Okay. So I think with Don't Speak, the thing that you run into is that the influences that it takes are either already represented in previous lists or have been or are going to be talked about later on in the show, that opening guitar riff is very influential of Dream On, but I think Dream On is going to be on the list, and that kind of takes that spot. The guitar solo in this is a little confusing, I guess, in terms of it being like a nylon string, so it's a much softer, and it doesn't really match the aesthetic that they're going for. I will give you that the lyrics in this are very impactful, and I think this is an incredibly written song. But I think the influences that it has, we are going to already have Aerosmith and like Weezer and to an extent Red Hot Chili Peppers as well.
So if that's going to be your argument, we already have "Don't Sweat the Technique" by Eric B. and Rakim, with that sick ass bass line that goes throughout the song. Rakim's multi-syllabic rhyme scheme. If we're going to make that argument for "Don't Speak," we are going to use the same argument against "Bust a Move," though.
Those two bass lines though don't sound that similar.
They may not sound that similar, but they're carried by that bass line.
Yeah. Okay,
Cody,
I think
Okay, for one, I hate the argument that you just did, Bar, where it's like, well, it's already on the list. Well, none of these are getting eliminated. They're having to be on it. By your guys' rule, both of them will be right next to each other on the list, regardless. Okay, second, how dare you say the lyrics are not great? I've known these lyrics forever. I love this song. The saddest moment as a father I've ever been is when my son asked to play Bust a Move, and I play this, and he asked for the Glee cast. Saddest I've ever been as a father. Bust a Move by a country mile, and it's not close. I love that. Come on, Fatso, bust a move. That's such a great line. Like, yeah.
No, it's a dope ass song. I will give you that. They're just like lines here and there that I'm kind of like, you didn't have to go that hard on them. So
don't speak next time, Bar. Just don't.
All right, let's move on to the next. Cody's way too proud of himself for that.
Pun included.
Yeah.
All right. Your Honor, irrelevant. Moving on to number 352 and 351. Time Has Come Today by the Chambers Brothers versus Higher Ground by Stevie Wonder. I believe Brooklyn win. Yeah.
No, you went first last time, so yeah, it's definitely me. This is another incredible funk line. Just the bass line in this is so just so wet and moppy. And it has this very distinct sort of beat with it. And how Stevie's able to kind of sit on top of it, and just the band behind him, how talented they are, and how they're able to kind of keep this unison beat along. I think the line that ultimately kind of gets people to be like, wow, this is an incredible song, when they go to just World Keep On Turning, and when they drop the chord pretty well, and then they drop again, and it just has such kind of like a burn to it almost. And then I think when you get into the chorus, I think the line, because my last time on earth I lived a whole world of sin. I think that's a great kind of chorus line to get you into the beat that one is trying to provide. But I think this is just it's like an endless loop of a beat that you don't get tired of.
Time Has Come Today by the Chambers Brothers is it's one of those songs that your favorite artist loves, but you may not know. It's a very, really cool psychedelic rock piece, where it's just the overall experience that is just amazing, with the guitars and the drums, and like the way that the time signature kind of weaves in and out throughout the song. It's just a really cool experience. And just every time that the rest of the band comes in just shouting time, like in between like verse parts, it's just really, really a cool, awesome, epic, psychedelic epic rock piece. with Higher Ground, look, I love Stevie Wonder. He's one of my favorite artists. But when we compare this song to other Stevie songs such as Superstition, or why am I blanking on that song's like title right now? But you know what I mean. When we compare it to other funk pieces by Stevie Wonder, this one's still good, but it doesn't quite hit the heights that the other ones do. And I think the problem is that after a while, it kind of stays at the exact same level where I don't think that it ever kind of shifts and it suddenly becomes just extremely good background. I think that's my main problem with this song. It's kind of the opposite problem of what I have with Bust a Move. Lyrically, great. Musically, it kind of just stays on that same wavelength through the entirety of the song.
Oh, okay. With time has come today, Andrew Cody, I want you to think about how much this song should appease me. Like, think about everything that Andrew talked about, how psychedelic it is. This song is boring. It doesn't have a lot. Like, you can talk about the experience, but it's literally just time. It's yeah, and then everything else is just that one lick that they play on the one string. And yeah, it makes me really want to listen to Cream because they do the style a little bit more effectively.
I think the thing that I really like about Time Has Come Today is just the energy and the the energy in the song that the song carries is just great, especially with the cowbell in the background, just keeping time and pace. Um, there's a weird amount of chaos and control that this song has, and once again, getting into like the parts where it suddenly slows down, it becomes more psychedelic and just like spacious, and then it hits you right back into the face with the chugging, jangling guitars and the kick drums. I think that you're not giving this song enough credit in its dynamic and how much it is offering.
But it's not offering much. Like, a little
Cody,
Time. You said things, and I just wanted to add words to it. Like how you're like saying how one note the entire song of Brooklyn's is. Have you heard "Time Has Come Today"?
yes, there's like multiple things going on in there.
Stop it! No, there's not. It had like when the song starts, it starts with like so much like, oh, I'm gonna dig this song. It's got like a CCR vibe, and like it's gonna be like that cool like song, and then it just time. Like I want to take a time out from this entire song. I think the song just doesn't go
I
to
can't
a
believe
level
that you guys are boiling this down to literally
right.
one element.
But okay, but where they say time has come today, and then to time, there's nothing changed. They just well, you got Stevie Wonder just flipping, slapping shit. Like he's great. I think it's just
like at least my song is a war song, or it's at least about war.
That's true.
So is my. Oh my god. Okay, never mind.
Time.
So Vietnam. Okay, whatever.
Time.
There's a goddamn reason Spike Lee.
If he went to Notre Dame, you would like him a lot better.
Okay, moving on before I fucking punch a hole in my wall. Number 350 and 349 on the list. Time.
Here comes that Oscar nomination.
Borderline, the album version by Madonna versus Visions of Joanna by Bob Dylan. So I specifically chose the album version, which is about 2 minutes longer than the single version of Borderline. That synth line is perfect. Like it could be pitched up to a point where it becomes unbearable, but it's just that nice, soft, cloud-like kind of sound to it that's just perfect. Madonna is probably the best she's ever sounded on a song. She is so in the pocket in this, and she is just so comfortable with that melody and the way that she's just able to ride that instrumentation. Plus, lyrically, it's just an utterly charming song with a really catchy melody. It is just a fantastically crafted pop song that for 5 minutes long doesn't feel like it.
So Visions of Johanna, I think, exudes a similar emotion that we get with kind of like these '60s kind of like hippie soul songs, where it has these moments in the verses where you're building up the tension with like the guitar and I think that underlying harmonica in it as well. And you have Bob Dylan doing his storytelling thing where he's kind of putting nouns together to create these similes and metaphors and whatnot. But then I think it just does a really good job of like starting it low, working up, and then you get to the line of like these Visions of Johanna, where like you feel them on like a different step, and then you hear them come down, and then they just build it right back up into the next line. I just think it really like the piano in this or the keys in this sound really good. The harmonica solos in this are really good. It's a very fun jam song. Like I would love to hear this live. Whereas with Borderline, this is a very mid song in Madonna's repertoire because it really just wants to be ABBA. This song really wants to be an ABBA song. Just think about the harmonies and the keys in this and how similar they sound to them. That's what I would say.
I don't quite understand where you're coming with this. Just because it's a pop song? Because it's got like very traditional pop kind of qualities to it. I can't think of an ABBA song that has like that kind of like gospel-y kind of like background to it. Whereas with Visions of Johanna,
Waterloo?
yeah, but that's not gospel-y kind of background.
Same kind of harmonies though.
Waterloo's more rock, more like pop rock, if anything.
Definitely has pop rock.
Whereas with Visions of Johanna has all the problems that eluded Blowing in the Wind. Whereas it's 7.5 minutes where it plays its hand way too early, and Bob Dylan slips into that vocal range where all the Bob Dylan impersonators kind of do kind of thing.
No, that song will always be like a Rolling Stone. That is the most
which
Bob
we both
Dylan.
had on our lists. We both had that on our list, though.
Oh yeah, we fucking did. Oh god.
All right, moving on.
You put that song on the list?
He did. Yeah, we did. Yeah.
Did I?
I'm just saying.
I don't think I did. No.
One of them eight vetoes may come in.
All right, let's just move on.
I thought that was one that I left off.
As I will double check this.
Okay. Is it my turn to talk?
Yes, it's your turn to talk.
Yeah, it's kind of like I'm kind of weirded out because I think I just said something about Bob Dylan sounding a certain way, and then the song came up, and this is exactly how he sounds during the song for me. It's just I don't like it. I don't love Borderline more, like so much more than Bob Dylan, but I thought it was catchy. It's from a time I enjoyed it for the most part. I don't think I'd ever listen to Bob Dylan's song again. I just was bleh. So I'm going Borderline.
Okay, cool. Because I had cut out for a little bit, so I didn't know which one that you had picked.
Yeah, give it to Bob Dylan, I guess.
Just because I cut out. Great. That sounds about right, though. All right. Let's move on to number 348 and 347. Heads Will Roll by Yeah Yeah Yeahs versus Pink Matter by Frank Ocean featuring Andre 3000. So I'm going first on this one, I believe, Brooklyn. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Correct. Yeah.
But Heads Will Roll, what an awesome little piece of dance punk that this song is. Just the tight, ominous buildup of those synthesizers at the beginning, and then Karen O coming in with her vocals, just with off with their heads, dance till you're dead, heads will roll, heads will roll. And then you get the drums and the guitar, and then the synths come in even louder. It's just really well constructed. It's not a song that's necessarily lyrically deep, but it is one where the vibes and the energy just roll through you.
Yeah. So Pink Matter by Frank Ocean has this incredible kind of tone and vibe around it. The guitar in this, I think, is just sitting on top of like the synth and the bass and whatnot. And then you have these kind of interesting moments where they're just kind of chanting like chug, 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 and kind of this like kind of frat nature. And I think there's like these strings that kind of come in over Frank's singing, and that comes in really well. But I think the part that gets everybody is where Andre 3000 comes in. And like, since you've been gone, I've been having withdrawals. And just how he kind of plays with that beat. And then they kind of come together near the end, and it's like it's very similar to Outkast without it being an official Outkast song. And I think it complements both styles. Like this is a top 50 collaboration, I would say. Whereas with Heads Will Roll by Yeah Yeah Yes, I agree. This song deserves to be on the list. Not this version though. The A-Track remix that was done on Project X soundtrack, I think fixes some of the things that were in this. In particular, that synth beat that you're talking about, it's just off rhythm enough where I have a hard time getting into the beat of it. I find I'm having kind of to reset it every time. And I think that remix that kind of became famous is the superior version.
See, the thing with that off rhythm quality to it though is what gives it that ominous mood, that atmosphere. There's always a tension in the background with it, and I think that that's what's causing it for this song. Whereas with Pink Matter, I'm going to be completely honest, I've listened to this song multiple times now, and aside from moments in Andre's verse, I don't remember any of the melody from Frank Ocean's part. Like, Frank Ocean's a talented singer and he's a talented songwriter, but the melody in Pink Matter just doesn't quite register with me. Like, I can tell that there's music there, but I don't ever remember it afterwards, even if it's immediately afterwards.
Okay. Yeah, I would understand that. Let's go to Cody and see what he has to say.
I'm not a fan of either one of these songs, to be honest with you. I don't like really either one. Like, I feel like I'm missing a part of Andrew that I just didn't know, like, fist bumped in clubs or whatever, that he just enjoyed, like,
If
that
this
type
song
of
is
life.
playing in the club, oh hell yeah, I'm dancing to this shit.
That's just something I don't want to see ever. No offense, Andrew. I don't want to see Brooklyn do it either.
Dancer.
I don't want to see Brooklyn do it either, so if that helps. But I will say I don't like Frank Ocean either. Like, I think there was another song that came up on the list. I didn't really enjoy that either.
Pyramid.
Yeah.
If anything, the only thing that saved this was Andre 3000 for me, and his part of the song that I really enjoyed. So I have to go with that one because it's the one I enjoyed the most of that. But yeah.
I'm getting my ass kicked this episode.
Well, stop picking stanky artists.
There's still so much more show to go. Like I very much feel like the Toronto Maple Leafs in an NHL playoff series right now. This lead is not safe whatsoever.
Hey,
thanks, Mr. Producer.
Whew, thank God.
All right, let's move on to the next one. Number 346 and 345.
That helps, Brooklyn.
Mr. Producer Man, thank you. Okay. Ain't No Mountain High Enough by Marvin Gaye and Tammy Terrell versus Bad Guy by Billie Eilish.
I don't. Okay, you guys debate this out. I would love to see it. I will be here when you're done.
Brooklyn, you start.
So the bass line in this is just it's muted enough, but I think it just sits in this nice, interesting little pocket where you are kind of going back and forth and whatnot. The snapping in this is great, kind of gives us this little kind of swing jazz feel. Billie Eilish, like, say what you will about her vocals, but I think the production that she puts on this, in particular with the harmonies are so deep into it, and you normally wouldn't hear it in this style of song. I think that like horror pop needs to be recognized on this list, and this is kind of the next step in that line. There are others to consider, but this is one to talk about, especially kind of the hook of it as well, and kind of how it kind of plays with you and then gets right back into the seriousness.
Oh boy, I've got so many arguments to say from that argument alone. Okay, Ain't No Mountain High Enough by Marvin Gaye and Tammy Terrell. First of all, wow, do Marvin Gaye and Tammy Terrell blend their voices so fucking beautifully together. These are just two incredibly talented singers. Like Tammy Terrell, God bless her. What a tragic loss in the music industry Tammy Terrell was. We did not get enough of her as a singer. And boy, this is such an epically luscious, beautiful instrumentation. Just like the way that I think it's like a glockenspiel. Tinkles throughout the song, just like adding this just like ultra beautiful element to this, and the soaring melody of that chorus. Just, I dare you to find someone who has never heard the melody of this chorus that's past the age of 25. Like everyone, every adult knows this song, and it is just burrowed deep into the psyche of culture. With Bad Guy by Billie Eilish, first of all, we have horror stuff on this list. I literally just picked Heads Will Roll. If you're going to pick a Billie Eilish song that's horror based, Bury a Friend. You could have picked Bury a Friend in this spot instead.
I have Bury a Friend in my list.
So we already do have it represented. That's great. Thank you. I appreciate that.
But both are there.
If we're going to pick a Billie Eilish song, Bad Guy's not even the best song in her catalog, or the second best song in her catalog. When you have things like When the Party's Over or Ocean Eyes, like these are better Billie Eilish songs. And also, finally, it's too soon. It is too soon. The impact of this song is not quite known yet.
This got memed like pretty hard. I think it's had its impact. Like we've already talked about Lizzo. I think Lizzo was even a little after Billie Eilish. So I think that argument is a little bit null. Here's my thing. I know I'm gonna lose, but here's my thing. Ain't No Mountain High Enough. I don't think they like the song, because you listen as they kind of get faster and faster. Like they want to end the song. So think about how slow they start the song and how fast they are at the end. They just want to get to the end and move on to a different thing. That's what I got. I can't wait to go down swinging.
Okay. Billie Eilish, I'm sorry. I'm not Caleb Coho. I am not a stan. I think she is only famous for singing different than everybody else and her brother. Because he's the music behind all of what she does. The production value of that guy is great, but the vocals and I could give a shit less. Like, I don't know his name. I don't know what
Phineas.
Phineas. That's it. So he's famous. I think she is completely overrated by a large margin. I don't like her. I just yeah, shut up, speak or don't speak. I don't know. Stop singing.
I know just what
Uh,
you're saying.
This song ain't no mountain high. Listen, guess what? I wish Billie Eilish hated her song so she could get done with it faster and she can start singing faster. She doesn't. But that's that part where remember that day I set you free. I told you, just when they get going together, it's just beautiful. And how it starts, as soon as that kicks in, mood goes up. No question, easy. I thought about using the veto on Bad Guy, to be honest with you.
Okay.
But now that I know another one's coming, I might say it. So we'll leave that there.
Okay.
Oh, also, I hate the argument. I've always hated the argument that there's not enough time passed. There's not enough to let them know. Guess what? When I heard the Eagles the first time, Queen, Billy Joel, I didn't need it to sit there for 10 years to know they're one of the greatest. So I hate when if I get to a song recent before everybody else, I didn't see The Godfather in '72. I saw it in 2010. I knew it was a great movie. It's still a great movie.
You know what, Cody? I'm going to be completely honest with you, and like no facade or anything like that. That's a really good argument that I had never thought about before.
Yeah, facts.
So,
You come to it at different times. Yeah, older things don't always mean better. Sometimes they just have a lasting impact. So.
Okay. Moving on to number 344 and 343. Poison by Belle Biv DeVoe versus Since You've Been Gone by Kelly Clarkson. I'm going first on this one. So, Poison by Belle Biv DeVoe. First of all, if you saw our recap list at the end of the first season, you know that I would have put this song and replaced it with another one that was on the list. Poison by Belle Biv DeVoe is like the epitome of New Jack Swing to me. It has got that incredible funky groove that carries throughout that's just like perfectly blended with like hip hop beats. The chemistry between these guys is just off the goddamn charts. It blends R&B perfectly with hip hop, and lyrically there was like that one line about how do you know? Oh, well, the rest of us have hit that already. So like it's like a great warning tale about a gold digger and just like never trust a big butt and a smile. That girl is poison. And every once in a while, whenever I go to karaoke and someone does this, there's always a bunch of people in the audience just shouting, "Poison!" Like, it is just a crowd-rousing New Jack Swing epic piece.
So Since You've Been Gone can be initially perceived as this pretty basic pop song, but when you break it down in terms of the riff, it is very unique from its counterparts. It has this interesting thing where it starts on a root note, but then it kind of goes back. It goes into the minor, but then it adds in a chord that isn't normally in that thing, and it gives it an extra kind of lift to it. Then you get into the chorus, and I think it's such a big payoff. It's like there's such a relief when it's just like I can breathe for the first time, and I think the bridge is just is the example of her vocal quality and why I think it gets her on the list. Like, shut your mouth, I just can't take it again and again and again. Whereas with Poison, with New Jack Swing, I think it's interesting. This gave me a lot of 90s boy band vibes, and like I don't know if this sounds enough to be like I get elements of everything, like New Kids on the Block, Backstreet Boys, and everything, like that drum beat in particular. It honestly makes me want to go to like Finesse, like Bruno Mars and Cardi B. I think they take that style of beat and do it quite well. And I'll just have it be known to Mr. Newberry that my opponent insists that if a song just says the word, says one word, that makes it a great chorus. You're muted.
God damn it. That one word is not the chorus alone. That's not that wasn't even the chorus for the other song. Oh my god, fuck you. Okay, so here's my thing. First of all of those songs and those other artists that you mentioned tried to emulate this one. This song came out in 1990. So all of those boy band groups that you were mentioning, this came before them. They're trying to do this song, and they're still not doing it as well. My problem with Since You've Been Gone is the production. The production doesn't give the instrumentation enough room to breathe and like be its own thing. It is compressed. That guitar doesn't get to scream as loud as it wants to. It's being held back, and it holds me back from enjoying the song as much as it probably would if I saw it live.
I think having seeing the benefit of hearing it live would make the song better. I think doesn't really fit, because like that you should be able to get that live sort of sense from the song. I do think that NSYNC and like Backstreet Boys do the song better. Like Tearing Up My Heart, Everybody, they kind of do this beat better. I think it relies too much on that one sort of signature though, of like the bop. It goes back too much of that, whereas with its counterparts or with the Temporaries, they would eventually kind of progress and they would move on with the beat and whatnot. The one other thing I'll say was, since You've Been Gone, Kelly needs to be the forefront on this. She is the best part of the song. The guitars need to be a supporting role. If they take over, then it just becomes too overwhelming.
All right, we're gonna move on to Cody
now. So definite boy band vibes throughout the entire song, and I thought like at first, because I didn't look into it, I just hit shuffle and kept going. I thought it was like a New Kids on the Block like song. And that's no shot. I just thought, because it sounded very similar. Since You've Been Gone, it's not a great movie. It's a good movie. Pitch Perfect. Me and my wife have a lot of fun watching, like when we watch it, and that is one of the best moments when they do Since You've Been Gone. So that will never go out. I think Kelly Clarkson is absolutely a powerhouse that does not get like enough credit for being as great of a vocalist she really is. So Since You've Been Gone, easily for me. I can't breathe on the bed.
Okay.
Watch that mashup if you've never seen her from Pitch Perfect. It's great.
I don't love Pitch Perfect, but that part's one of the better parts. Now, if No Diggity was here, what would have happened?
Ooh. But No Diggity probably would have won.
See, but No Diggity is okay. All right, moving on.
No Diggity is absolute. No, it has to be higher than this.
Don't be disrespectful, Bar.
Are we in the last one? The same guy. Okay. So yes, we're moving on to the last one, number 342 and 341. Somebody to Love by Queen versus If I Had $1 Million by Bare Naked Ladies.
You know what? This should be fun.
Brooklyn, you're going.
I love to watch it. I love to watch a person fight against a machine gun with a stick. So this should be fun.
I know that I'm losing this. I'm going up a wall pretty well. So I'm just going to tell you why I love this song. This is a great sort of call and answer song, and especially how simple it is with the response of "If I Had $1 million," and you just echo and response. I think the breaks they take in between, where they're kind of talking about we wouldn't have to eat craft dinner. We would eat craft dinner. We just eat more. And then they get into talk about Dijon ketchup, and it's just like that's that quirky kind of silly moment in it. I think there's some good uses messages of callback in it. When like in the second verse, when they're talking about I'll buy you a fur coat, but not a real fur coat that's cruel. But then in the third verse, I'll buy you a green dress, but not a real green dress that's cruel. The little references in it of like, oh, I'll buy you John Merrick's remains, do all them crazy elephant bones. And then you get into the last section of it, and where everybody's coming in, and it's just like how it kind of built that progression to get to the gang vocals, and then Stephen Page's kind of wail at the end there of like when he's just saying if I had $1 million, and how they fall for the harmonies, and that is really cool. And then just ends in that little line of like I'd be rich. And I think it's a very pleasant song. Like if you were to ever like pick a song to kind of play Mario Kart 2, or like it had like it was kind of like the end like results or whatever, I feel like this is kind of the one that you would play from like the piano beat, I guess, for what I'd say.
4 words. Aretha Franklin inspired Queen. Freddie Mercury was inspired by Aretha Franklin when he was writing Somebody to Love, and my God, is it a perfect match made in heaven. The yearning in Freddie Mercury's vocals in this song, oh my God, I just feel that pain, and like I just relate to it so much. It is just a incredibly crafted piece where the backing vocals act like this chorus, like this Greek chorus, just like building upon the emotion that Freddie Mercury is projecting in this song. And just that piano that introduced, like after the acapella vocals, that simple piano that comes in, just, it creates this wonderful emotional resonance that is just so powerful and everyone can relate to at points. The problem with If I Had $1 Million is that you were talking about the little interplay that comes in between verses. That would have been cute one time, maybe twice, but they over rely on that to act as this string between between verses, and it openly distracts when you do that too many times. Somebody to Love is just simple, where everything melds into each other perfectly, instead of just, hey, we're gonna kind of do like this vaudevillian thing in between verses while you guys wait for us to go back into the lyrics. Okay, here we go.
So I don't have anything bad to say about Somebody to Love. I was going to take the time to celebrate it with you, but since you were going to attack, if I had $1 million, the thing that I'll say about that is that callback thing that I was talking about. That's the only one. So that you saying that's excessive kind of tells me that I'm not sure if like there isn't any other callbacks or interplays in there and whatnot. Everything else is either a reference within itself, or it'd be in the first verse where it's like, if I'd buy you a house, and the next line is I'd buy you furniture for your house, and then everything else is kind of within its own segment. What I love about Somebody Loved by Queen is that second half where it's just like it's kind of building up, like find me somebody to love, and then it just keeps ramping up. You hear Freddie come in, and then they go one octave and then lower octave and one octave and lower octave, and then you hear the band come back in. I agree with you on the piano and whatnot. I think that intro that you were talking about earlier as well, that is a nice like kind of like homage to like the wall of sound, because they're all kind of at the same volume. Nobody really kind of takes precedence in it. But yeah.
Before we move on to Cody, I do want to say one good thing about If I Had $1 Million real quick,
Okay.
because you were so nice. I love the end where everyone kind of all comes together and sings it together. It adds this really charming quality to it. Very delightful. I love this song, but I just think that this is the one that deserves to be on the list, is all. So
Oh yeah.
moving on to Cody.
You guys are so nice to each other. That's how
We
I'm about
are.
to ruin. I'm about to ruin all that. So there's a kids group band called the Wiggles. The bare naked ladies are the adult version of the Wiggles for like adults that didn't grow up with like proper structure. It's all gimmick. It's all like like even 1 week is like gimmick full of gimmick just to be there. Like it's fine. I like the song all in all, but it's the Wiggles. It is literally the Wiggles. Fruit salad.
What the fuck?
If I had $1 million, I'd buy you a house and furniture. Da, da, da. Kids, you following me? Everybody say it with me. Clap, clap. Like, I'm sorry. A whole universe is in a hot dense. Like, listen, they're just completely. Well, I read a book once. Let me read all this stuff out. Like, it's so just amateur hour every time. I can't stand them.
The worst part is I have a better kid song for next week.
Oh, I'm so excited.
Yeah.
Overall,
but you're crushing my soul here. I'm not gonna.
Overall, Somebody to Love is a Corvette in your driveway, and If I Had $1 Million is a smash Corvette in your driveway. They're both songs. One can get you places, the other is an insurance. You should just claim on your insurance as a loss.
Well, we've come to the end of this episode. Woo! All right, so let's go over the list of what we have today. Number 360 is What a Wonderful World by Louis Armstrong. Number 359 is Maggie May by Rod Stewart. 358 is Sweet Child of Mine by Guns N' Roses. Number 357 is Let It Be by the Beatles. Number 357 is Crab Bucket by Chaos. Number 355 is Blowin' in the Wind by Bob Dylan. 354 is Don't Speak by No Doubt, and 353 is Bust a Move by Young MC.
Busted.
Then we have Time Has Come Today by the Chamber Brothers.
Time!
Number 351 is Higher Ground by Stevie Wonder. Number 350 is Visions of Johanna by Bob Dylan. Then we have Borderline, the album version by Madonna. Heads Will Roll by the Yeah Yeah Yeahs at number 348, followed by number 347, Pink Matter by Frank Ocean featuring Andre 3000. Then at 346, we have Bad Guy by Billie Eilish. 345, Ain't No Mountain High Enough by Marvin Gaye and Tammy Terrell. Number 344, we have Poison by Belle Biv DeVoe, followed by 343, Since You've Been Gone by Kelly Clarkson. Then we end off with
Fruit salad, yummy, yummy.
by the Wiggles, and number 341.
That you would never eat Kraft dinner?
Huh?
If you had $1 million? Are you telling me that you would take a limousine? You wouldn't take a limousine because it'd cost more?
If I had $1 million, like what?
I'd pay
You
off
would
my
buy a
student
K car, a nice Reliant automobile?
Nope.
Yeah, no. You know what? I would write a song. I would take $1 million and get somebody to write me a song. It's better if I had $1 million.
Okay, so with that, Brooklyn is back in the lead with 41-39. Now, Cody.
Yeah.
That we had sent you the list for next week episode.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that so far?
So yeah, I've been listening through it. Some like this one, like I like when your guys' like artists sometimes overlap. Like I don't know if you both have one or you both pick like two from the same time, so it's interesting. But I think as we get closer, like more well known is coming. Some wild picks in the next one, I will say, but I'm excited to talk about them at least.
Okay. Now, to give a little behind the scenes, next week we're going to be double recording. So, Cody, I just sent you episode 10.
Oh, okay. I have not.
Let's see your fresh thoughts on this playlist.
Okay. It is loading.
In the meantime, we'll banter.
Oh, okay. I see somewhere. Wow. 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 Oh, okay. I'm going to say that week is going to be extremely difficult for me. I have a lot of songs I like on there that I've just seen. So, yeah, that's going to be an interesting week overall. I think 10 is definitely going to be. There are some definitely great choices. So,
I think 10 is where like the cream of the crop of both of our lists finally start to come into play. So,
and I can't wait for one of you guys to describe in all your glory one of these songs. It's going to be hilarious.
Okay.
But with that, join us next in 2 weeks for episode 9, and then 2 weeks after that for episode 10. So for all of us here at the video store, that is Cody
buy our
Mason.
shit.
Oh yeah, duh.
Please-
Mr. Producer
please
Man,
go
why
buy our
don't you
shit.
ever remind me about this? Buy our shit.
And drive unsafe.
Yes, for Cody, for Brooklyn, and for myself, Andrew. This has been Off Our Stones, and keep on rocking.
Drive unsafe.